Hi, English learners. I'm English teacher Kebab. Welcome to EnglishTeacherKebab.com. That's where you can find me. I am an English teacher. I teach English as a second language in the public school system to adults, and I'm currently teaching beginners, but I've taught all levels of ESL. So welcome. I hope I can be of help to you today. I want to talk to you about the beginner's guide to learning English, the essential tips and strategies for adult ESL learners. And by the way, if you don't already know, ESL means English as a second language. So the first thing I need to tell you, if you don't already know, is rule number one. English is a crazy language. Crazy. I mean, it's second nature to me. I've been speaking it my whole life. But I know for people who are trying to learn English, especially uh, older adults, younger ones catch on pretty quick, but the older people are when they try to learn, the more confusing the language is. I do my best to simplify it, uh, but it is a crazy language. Now, the other thing is anybody who told you learning English is easy and that you can do it quickly, I don't want to say they're lying, but it takes time and it takes a lot of practice, and you got to be committed because if you're not, this isn't going to come easily. You've got to practice. You've got to do this all the time. I'm a good teacher and I can teach you everything. But if you don't practice what I teach you, we're both wasting our time. I'm just being honest. So let's let's get comfortable and let's talk. Or let me talk, you listen, and I'd love to hear comments at the end. I have a comment section for you to leave comments and questions, and I'd love to get to know you. So the first thing you need to know is the alphabet. If you don't already know, there are 26 letters to the English alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Maybe you already know that. The crazy part about English is there are sometimes several different sounds and pronunciations for each letter, for the same letter. For instance, the letter A, where we start, there are four different pronunciations for the letter A. Uh, a is a vowel, and in case you don't know what a vowel is, A, E, I, O, and U are all vowels. Sometimes Y is a vowel. All English words have to have a vowel, and if there is no vowel, the letter Y sits in as a vowel. But the letter A, like all vowels, has two sounds. All vowels have at least two sounds. It says its own name, which is A, and all vowels have a short sound. Ah, that's simple enough. But A has what's called a medium A. Ah, like in wash. All right. And then there's like above and about. So that's just the letter A. I'm not going to go through all of the letters, but I can tell you that some of the letters have several different uh, pronunciations. I will tell you that the letter O, there's O and there's ah, and then there's double O, which is ooh or like in blood or flood. Ooh, as in boot or root, and as in book. As I said, I'm not going to go through all of the different vowels, but I can see where English learners have a hard time with the sounds of the letters. That's probably the first thing you want to take uh, time to try to really get to know. Just knowing the alphabet is one thing, but knowing how they interact with other letters, that's a good place to start. Uh, Learn some simple greetings. Hi, how are you? Good morning. My name's Bob. What's your name? Simple things. Don't try to master the language. You're just not going to master it right away. You start small. Start with the things that you hear all the time. How much is this? Uh, when you're in the store, how much is this? Things like that. That's what you want to start with. And of course, you want to learn the numbers. You don't have to know all the numbers because a lot of them repeat themselves, but I think you should know 1 through 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And from there, it repeats itself 21, and then it goes to 30, 31, 32, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. You can learn all that in time, but for sure you should learn 1 to 20 as quickly as you can. That's just my advice. So you need to build a strong foundation. Like building a house, a foundation is needs to be very strong. That's what's going to hold up your structure if you're building a house or some kind of a building. And English is the same way. You need to have a strong foundation. And that starts with grammar. And there's too much grammar for me to go into in this video, but I can tell you I spend a lot of time on it. And as I mentioned, the website that my website is englishteacherkebab.com. There's a lot of lessons about grammar, and you need to spend time on it. You don't want to spend too much time or all your time, but that's a beginning, because if you don't know the grammar, you're not going to be able to know the language. So it all works together. There's really four, well, there's more than four, but there to any English class or any language class, there's speaking, there's listening, there's reading, and there's writing. And you need to know all of them. I believe in all of them. I do all of them in my class. I know you want to speak English, but you want to be able to read it as well. And by writing, even if you don't speak it well, you're learning to think in English when you're writing. And listening is very important because some of the sounds in English are just very foreign to a lot of English learners. So, as I said, reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Also, pronunciation, which is part of speaking. Uh, so, anyway, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but you need to build a foundation. So, basic grammar. You need to understand what a verb is and what the subject of a sentence is and what the object of a sentence is, and learn to have simple conversations. Like I said, hi, my name is, uh, ask for directions. How do I get to the grocery store? How do I get to the school? Lots of different things. I'm going to show you some questions that I believe all ESL students need to learn. Maybe not right away, but it's something that you can work towards pretty quickly. And I spend a lot of time on this in my classes, and it is on my website. So, personal information, you should be able to answer people when they ask, what is your name? My name is. Where are you from? I'm from whatever country. I'm from Mexico. I'm from Russia. I'm from China. You need to be able to answer those questions. What do you do? In the United States, that means, what is your job? What is it? How do you spend your time? So when people ask, what do you do? If you don't have a job, maybe you're a wife, maybe you're a student, maybe you have a job and you're a wife and you're a student, but you need to be able to answer these questions, and it takes time. But those are things where a good place to start. Uh, Ask people and be able to answer about when people ask you about your hobbies and interests. What do you like to do in your free time when you're not working, when you're not taking care of your kids or whatever it is that you do? Do you have any favorite hobbies? What do you like to do for fun? Do you collect stamps? Do you like to travel? Do you like photography? Those are hobbies. Uh, have you ever traveled abroad? That means have you been to other countries? If you're in the United States and you don't speak English, chances are you've already gone abroad. That means to go to different countries. Abroad means to travel out of your country to a different country. Or if you're in the United States, it means to travel to a different country than the United States. What's your favorite place that you've visited? Is it here in the United States? Is it in another country? These are questions that you should be able to answer, that you can ask other people. Work and study. What do you do for a living? Well, I just said, when people ask, what do you do? That means, what do you do for a living? How do you make money? Uh, what are you studying? If you're a student, are you studying English? What is it you're studying? And daily activities. What do you usually do on the weekends? Usually means most of the time, not all of the time. What do you do when you're not working? Do you like to travel? Do you like to spend time with your family? What do you do on the weekends? How do you spend your mornings? So those are just some of them. Uh, and of course, these questions will come up in job interviews, social gatherings with other people, academic settings, which is in school, travel and leisure. So those are just a few of the questions that I think you need to learn. And there's many, many more. Those are just starting points, and they will lead to other questions as you start talking. You start hearing real language, not just things that you learn in class. The idea of learning a language is to be able to interact naturally and not have to try to remember everything. It just becomes natural. And the only way that happens is by practicing. So daily practice. If you're not spending at least 30 minutes a day practicing English, you're not going to get very far. I suggest an hour or 2 hours. I suggest any time, any free time that you have, that you practice English. I'm not saying you shouldn't stop speaking your native language, whatever it is, but if you want to learn English, and if you're in the United States or an English speaking country, you need to spend a lot of time practicing, learning little bits at a time, but go out and practice. Don't just learn it and forget about it, because if you don't practice, you will forget about it. So you gotta practice. You need to develop listening and speaking skills. As I said, there's four parts. There's reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And it's very important to listen to people, other people who speak the language. I'm one of those people. There are people all over the place who speak this language naturally. And that's something for a lot of us, like myself, it's the only language. Listen to us. Don't be afraid to open your mouth and say something, even if it doesn't sound right. Most people are willing to help. Some people are not, but oh well. If you really want to learn, you got to open up and you got to say things. So listen to English daily. You can watch TV. You can listen to the radio. Listen to songs, records. Uh, YouTube is full of music. I play music in my classes, and we read lyrics. And if nothing else, it sound that people like the tunes, but you'll learn the lyrics. But there's a lot of informal language in music, because learning a language through a class and with a teacher like myself, I teach formal language, but I speak very informal language, and most people on the street that you meet speak informal language. So you need to understand the formal language uh, if you're going to really be educated. But the truth is, informal language and in slang is what most people speak most of the time, and you need to learn both. And it takes time, like I said. So practice speaking out loud. Don't just do it in your head. Speak to other people. And if you live alone or don't have anybody around, talk to the mirror. Record yourself. Listen to yourself. There are programs that you can either buy or use One of them that I recommend is USA Learns, where you can record yourself. You can do it on your phone too. So yes, speak out loud. Don't just think it. Don't just read it. Don't just write it. Say it regularly to someone, if not yourself. You can join English conversation groups or classes like the class that I teach. Maybe I can't teach you. Maybe I can. I do classes online as well. You can do it in person or online, but there are people all over the place that are willing to talk with you. There's lots of people trying to learn this language. You're not the only one. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And of course, as I've already mentioned, reading and writing, you need to do both. You need to read whatever you can in English. Now, I use Google Translate in my classes to get people started, and that's fine. It's a good place to start, but relying on a translator is not necessarily a way to learn English. It's a way to get started. If you've ever learned to ride a bicycle with training wheels, you didn't really learn to ride a bicycle till you took the training wheels off and you rode on two wheels. English is the same way. Maybe you learned to swim by having one of those plastic rings around you to get you in the water, to make you so that you wouldn't be afraid of the water, but you don't really know how to swim till you take that ring off. So the translator, Google Translate, is a great tool to get you started, but don't rely on it. You need to learn to get away from it as soon as possible. But writing is speaking in a different way. And it's very important. I start every single class, well, not every single class, most every single class with a writing exercise because it gets people to think in English. And if you need to use a translator to help you, fine. But like I said, you don't want to rely on it for too much and for too long. So you can start reading children's books. They're very simple. They had to learn to read, and they're still learning to speak too. Even the native English speakers read kindergarten level, first grade level reading material, anything. Read as much as you can. Read the newspaper, read online articles, read what it says on television. Just read as much as you possibly can and learn basic writing skills. I've been teaching writing for nearly 20 years. I'm a good writer myself, and I fully believe in writing. And you need to learn to write too. Uh, and don't expect to learn in a quick lesson or an hour or so. It takes constant practice. Journaling, write down, learn to write down what you did that day. What do you want to do today? What do you want to do tomorrow? What do you want to do this week? Write it in a journal. Anything. Just write about what you saw on TV, what you learned today, what somebody said to you today. It's a good way to learn the language. And of course, reading aloud. I said speaking aloud. Reading aloud is another way to speak aloud. If you're going to read, don't just read to yourself. Read out loud. Read to the mirror. Read to somebody else. Read to your kids, your wife, your husband, your friends, whatever. Okay, pronunciation. I don't even have time to go into it all right now, but pronunciation is a class unto itself because English has so many different variations of pronunciation that it's impossible to teach it all in one class. You have to learn it as you go. I can teach the pronunciation of the letters and the combinations of the letters and as many exceptions as possible, but you need to spend time learning pronunciation along with everything else that I've talked about so far. So intonation, maybe you just understood or heard the way I said intonation, some of the looks on my face and some of the way I change the tone of my voice when I talk, when I'm trying to make a point. That's intonation and stress. It's not just about talking like this over and over. We're not a machine. We're not robots. We need to learn to speak naturally, just like you do in your native language. And it takes time. Again, I can't say that enough time, enough times. It's going to take a long time to learn. So record yourself and listen. Like I said, use pronunciation apps. There are lots of them out there. And I've already mentioned USA Learns. I also use Burlington English. That one costs money, but it's a great program for learning pronunciation and hearing yourself and being able to improve by listening to yourself, not just other people, including me, but listening to yourself. Find a practice partner, a study buddy, whatever you want to call him or her. They're online, they're all over the place. All you got to do is reach out for them and start talking with them. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're not going to be an expert right off the bat. It takes time to become an expert, but you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere and you have to keep doing it. That's the only way you're going to get better. Practice, practice, practice. There are technology apps out there to help learn English. And I've mentioned USA Learns. I'll say it again. There are lots of apps. Quizlet. I use a lot of Quizlet, but there's a lot of ways to help you learn English on Quizlet. You can create a free account in both USA Learns and Quizlet, and they're both very helpful. There's a lot of mobile apps. YouTube, that's where we are right now. We're on YouTube. There's lots of other people doing exactly what I'm doing. I hope you like what I'm doing better, but there are lots of us doing this. Listen and learn and try. Don't just get caught up in trying to learn from one person or one source. There's lots of places and people you can learn from. Uh, Language exchange platforms. Yeah, there's so many places that you can talk with people. Listen to podcasts and audiobooks, read ebooks and online articles. Like the article right here on my website, I have about 200 different articles right here on this website, all about learning English. So that's just one, but there's lots of things that you can read. And as I've already said many times, practice what you learn, because if you don't practice, you're not going to get it. You're not going to learn it. You're going to forget it. You got to practice. There I go with intonation again. And some of the things that I find that English learners really struggle with, that they need to overcome, are the challenge, the fear of making mistakes. You gotta learn to love making mistakes, because mistakes, because I just said cuz, see, I'm speaking American English, because uh, English is a very informal language most of the time. And people think, a lot of English learners that I teach and that I know, they're afraid to say anything because they think people are going to make fun of them for not knowing how to speak the language. And that, yes, maybe some people will, but that's how you learn. You learn by making mistakes. You just you gotta learn to love making mistakes. Maybe you have limited time for practice. Okay, I understand that. We work, we have families, we have things we need to do. So try to find ways to make practicing English part of what you're already doing. Maybe it's listening to a podcast. Maybe you have a partner that you can talk to while you work, or whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah, you don't have to have time sitting at a desk to practice. You can practice as you drive. You can practice as you walk. I practice different things while I'm jogging. I'm a jogger. I don't need to practice English, but if I'm trying to learn something, I'm going to be out running for an hour. It's boring. Learn, practice what you're trying to learn. You can do the same thing with English. Practice, practice, practice. Lack of confidence. Yes, I know. I can't teach confidence. I can try to encourage people, and I do, and I'm encouraging you right now. You've got to find a way to gain confidence, and you will gain confidence the more you practice. The better the The more you practice, the better you get. The better you get, the more you'll have confidence, and so on and so forth. It's like it needs to get it needs to snowball. But you know, if you're a beginner, you're here. You got to take the first step before you take the second step, and you got to take the second step before you take the third step. And you don't get to advanced level until you are not a beginner anymore. Then you need to be intermediate. Then you're advanced, and then you still need to practice. So I've been speaking English my whole life and I'm still practicing. I understand it better than most people, but I still have to practice. So that's just the way it is. Difficulty understanding native speakers. Yes, I know that's a challenge for many English speakers because you need to learn to listen and you need to learn to be able to read. If you can read and listen at the same time, so much the better. You know, when I teach my classes, I put everything on the board and so people can hear me speak as well as see what I'm saying, because I think that's important for us to see, and our brain is storing information uh, both as we see it and as we hear it. And you need to be able to train your brain to be able to say it. So it comes in, but it needs to also go back out. And the only way to do that, where's that word again? Practice. Limited vocabulary. Yes, that's a challenge for a lot of people. That's why I said near in the beginning about grammar. Part of grammar is learning vocabulary. And one of my best tools, I don't know if you can see this right now, the Oxford Picture Dictionary, which I use in my class almost every day. It has lots and lots of pictures with definitions in English, you know, things that you already know about, but you don't know it, maybe don't know it in English. And that's what the picture dictionary is, because the pictures are the same in any language. The text, the writing is different, and and I highly recommend it. You need to focus on vocabulary. So we went through lack of confidence. Okay, we've been through all that. Again, practice, practice, practice daily, all the time, every waking moment that you have. You need to practice. You need to learn how to conjugate the verb. I spend a lot of time on three key verbs, which is the be verb. And there's in our picture right here, I am. The be verbs are am, are, and is in the present tense. In the past tense, it's was and were. And in the future tense, it's will be. I don't want to confuse you now, but what he's pointing to, those are things you need to know. You need to know that if I'm talking about myself, it's I am. If I'm talking about you, it's you are. And if I'm talking about a thing like a book, it's it. And if we're talking about you and me, or me and anybody, then it's we. And if I'm talking about somebody else that doesn't include me, it's more than one person that does not include me, that's they. And you need to know that am goes with I, are goes with you, is goes with it, and are goes with we, and are goes with you, and are goes with they. Very simple, but you need to know it. And there's the other two words, the other two verbs that I spend a lot of time on are the verbs to do and to have. And I'm not going to go into those here in this video, but if you look on my website, English Teacher Kebab, I've written a lot about them, and I have other videos that are specifically about those verbs. So create a daily learning routine. I've already said that in so many different ways. You just need to find a way to fit it into your day. If you really want to learn this language, you need to be practicing all the time. Flashcards. As I mentioned, Quizlet already. You can do a lot of flashcards at Quizlet. You can buy flashcards on Amazon, uh, or you can make your own and just practice by looking at them and put the definition on one side and the word on the other, or a picture or whatever, whatever it takes for you to learn it, and review them. Uh, Keep a language journal. Well, I talked about journaling earlier. You can be as formal or informal as you want about that. Engage in conversation. So important. You need to be able to talk with people, even if it's just, hi, how are you? What's your name? How's your day? Little things, little things. Start with something and master it and build. Try to learn at least one, maybe two or three things a day, but don't try to learn everything in a day because you're not going to. You need to take little bites at a time. Watch and listen actively, as I've already said. Listen to people. Watch how native speakers speak, not just what you hear, but it's the way where where we have to place our tongue when we speak, and certain ways that our mouth moves when we say make certain sounds. You need to pay attention to that. And I can help you with that. And there are other people who can help you with it too. It's not just about knowing the alphabet and knowing the letters. It's about knowing how they operate with each other, and set achievable goals. As I said, try to learn one new thing a day, maybe two or three. If you're really sharp, maybe five new things in a day, but that's a lot, especially if you're busy. Focus on one at a time. And if you feel good about that, then maybe two or three, like I said. But don't try to do too much in a day. You'll get confused, you'll get burned out, and you get frustrated. You don't want to do that. So I've already mentioned the Oxford Picture Dictionary. There's lots of learning resources out there. I use the Ventures uh, basic in my beginner class. This is the workbook. It comes with a textbook. Uh, these are more advanced. We use this as the text and this workbook. They go together. I highly recommend them. They start with just what we talked about with the alphabet, with numbers. It's for beginners, and you can work at your own pace. And the workbook um, reinforces the text. But I also highly recommend the Oxford Picture Dictionary. There's these others online that you can look at. There are so many materials that can help you. Online courses, uh, Mondly, English Class 101, they're all very good. My website, my classes are very good. If you want my help on a private or small group or even a large group, uh, I'd be glad to help you. Uh, I've already mentioned YouTube. There's lots of channels and podcasts devoted to learning English. Take advantage of them. And I have lots of things on YouTube, including this video as well. There's lots of mobile apps and software, local resources like your local libraries. I don't know about where you live, but here in the United States, where I live in California, there's three or four libraries in this town with lots of English learning materials there that you can borrow. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can use their computers and do listening exercises and speaking exercises. But the bottom line is you need to immerse yourself in the language. Immerse. I don't know if you know what that means, but when you jump into water, if you're swimming, you're immersing into the water. You need to surround yourself with the language. You need to surround yourself. And don't let yourself get overwhelmed when you are surrounded by it. As I said, try to only learn one or two, maybe three things a day, but still surround yourself with it. You're hearing it all the time. Learn a little bit of it at a time, but stay immersed in the language. If you're speaking your language, your native language, you're not learning English. You're just not. You're not going to, I don't want you to forget your native language, but if you want to learn English, you need to spend as much time as possible doing English. Listening to music, as I've already mentioned, it's fun. There's so much music out there. And nowadays, the lyrics, the words to the songs are available for just about every song, if it even has lyrics. I highly recommend it. It makes you feel good, and you can choose what you like. You can listen to what you like and don't listen to what you don't like. There's a lot of children's songs that are very good. That that talk about how to the alphabet and numbers and real basic things, but they do it in song. So if that's how you learn, if you like it, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of this stuff I've already mentioned. Practice with native speakers as much as you can. Label your surroundings. If you drink coffee, label your coffee cup. If you have books, label your books. If you have glasses like I do, label them. Put your sofa, right sofa, and put it on a table, chair, uh, everything that's in your home, everything that's in your work, label it. Label means to write and put it on what it is so you can see it in English. You know what it is in your language, but you need to learn it in English. So celebrate the small wins. You're not going to learn English in a day or a month, or probably not even in a year, but celebrate the little wins. If you're trying to learn one new thing a day and you feel like you really learn it, then pat yourself on the back, or buy yourself a treat, or do something, but celebrate the small wins. The small wins become the big wins. And the big win is you'll know when you're there. And if you're not practicing, you're never going to get there. But you need to stay motivated and set long-term goals, not just short-term, but long-term. So short-term to me is anything within the year. Long-term is what you're going to do in 1 to 5 or 10 years. Set goals that you're going to try to achieve, but set achievable goals, goals that you can do. What can I do today? What can I learn today? What can I learn right now? Start small and then go bigger and bigger. And then if you don't achieve your small goals, then you got to go back and keep trying till you do get it. And as you learn, as you achieve the small goals, you start making bigger goals. But don't start focusing on, well, you don't want to stop focusing on the big goals, but you need to concentrate on the small goals to get to the big goals. But keep your eye, as we say in English, keep your eye on the prize. The prize is learning English naturally, but the small goal is learn your alphabet, learn your numbers, learn your basic grammar, learn basic conversation. Those are little things that you can do every day, all the time, but you need to stay motivated. Motivated means to have energy, like, I'm going to do this. Feel good about yourself. Don't quit. Don't quit. You're never going to learn if you quit. So just keep doing it. So as I've already mentioned, set realistic long-term goals, just like uh, achievable small or short-term goals. They need to be realistic. Don't say you're going to learn English in 6 months, because I'm not going to say it can't happen. Most likely it won't happen. 5 years, maybe, probably, if you really focus on it. If you're young and you are really motivated, maybe 2 or 3 years. If you're my age, I'm 70 years old. Learning a new language, you're not going to learn it in a year. You're just not. And if you're lucky, you can do it in 5 years, but you need to stay with it. Set realistic goals. Mix up your learning routine. Don't be boring. Do something one way one day and do something different the next day. Maybe do 2 or 3 different methods the same day. Sometimes you sit at the desk and you read. Other times, like I said, I'm a jogger. Maybe you're a runner. Maybe you exercise. Put on the headphones and listen. Other times, just go to the grocery store or go where there's a lot of people and just talk. Just open your mouth and try to interact with people. There's so many different ways. Don't try to do the same thing all the time. It's boring if you do that. And as I've also already mentioned, find a study buddy or a practice partner. It's very important. And maybe get two or three or four, maybe 100 of them. Get as many of them as you can. They're online all over the place. Uh, yeah, just find people that you can call up on the phone or get on Zoom with, or go to the store and wherever, at the library. There's people everywhere who are trying to learn English or who already know English, who can help you, or you can help each other. And as I've already said, celebrate your successes. And every little thing that you learn is a success. So pat yourself on the back. That's what we say in the United States. Um, so I hope this has been helpful to you. I love teaching English. I love teaching ESL, and I love teaching adults. I will teach kids as well, but I want to teach people who really want to learn, because I really want to teach, and I like to get serious. I like to have fun. I like to laugh and keep it light, but I like to keep moving. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can contact me on my website, englishteacherkebab.com. Like I said, there's close to 200 different articles there, and I'm available to work with you uh, individually, or in small groups, or large groups as well. And I have done teaching in different companies as well. Now with Zoom, I can teach all over the world, and that's really my goal. I want to teach English to the world. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up below the video. If you have a comment or a question, I'd love to hear from you. So leave a comment or a question in the comment section. And I'd love it if you become a member, uh, a subscriber to this YouTube channel. So with that, I think that's all I have for you today. Uh, Thank you for joining me, and I will look forward to seeing you again. Have a great day. Learn English. Bye bye.